Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing everybody's favorite topic, which of course would be skill-based matchmaking. Weekend 1 of the Black Ops Cold War beta is now behind us, but Weekend 2 starts in just a few days, and the consensus amongst the player base right now seems to be that the core game is good. It obviously has problems that need to be addressed, but the game itself at a fundamental level is good, but the matchmaking is ruining the experience for almost everybody. The skill-based matchmaking that we saw in the beta was undeniable. As somebody who didn't really play a lot of Modern Warfare or even care about the game whatsoever, I didn't really see the extent at which the matchmaking system could impact players in Modern Warfare, but after putting roughly 35 hours into the beta last weekend, I can definitely see what people have been talking about over the course of the past year. Every match was seemingly as sweaty as possible, and connectivity was also rough because the matchmaking system would put us with players further and further away. At one point, it culminated with us playing against people on South American servers. Now, mind you, I'm nowhere near South America. I'm in northern Pennsylvania. I'm pretty close to Canada, for crying out loud. Yet we were playing people that lived in Havana, Cuba. The matchmaking system that we saw in the beta, and even back in Modern Warfare 2019, is there for a reason. People often wonder why skill-based matchmaking exists in the first place if Call of Duty has a ranked mode, and the reason why boils down to Activision making money. Skill-based matchmaking has always been a thing in the Call of Duty franchise to lesser or greater extents, and the reason why it's so bad now is because after they removed supply drops, Activision wanted to recoup their money somehow. What we're looking at here is a quote-unquote exploratory patent from Activision. This was filed in 2015 and approved in 2017, and basically what the patent does is it describes a microtransaction-based matchmaking system that Activision wants to include in their games. I covered this back in Call of Duty World War II when the news first came out, but really quickly, let's go over it once again. To summarize some of these systems within the patent, we see a system and method is provided that drives microtransactions in multiplayer video games. The system may include a microtransaction arrange matches to influence game-related purchases. For instance, the system may match a more expert/marquee player with a junior player to encourage the junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed or used by the marquee player. A junior player may also wish to emulate the marquee player by obtaining weapons or other items used by the marquee player. So basically what this means is this system is designed so that the more money you spend in the shop, if you're a good player, you're going to be matched with bad players so that they can see you using your microtransaction content. If they see you dominating with that content, and you probably will be because you're a good player in a lobby of bad players, they're then going to feel incentivized to purchase the exact same thing so they could try to be like you, right? This is actually something that we saw recently with Modern Warfare 2019. You guys know I don't play that game, and therefore I'm not really super caught up with it, but weren't the AS Val and the R700 both completely busted? If I recall correctly, the AS Val could shoot through everything on the map, like every single piece of cover, every building, every wall. It became a point where in hardcore search and destroy, players could spawn in and kill people across the map through every single building just because the wall penetration was so busted, right? And then you have the R700, which I believe was hit scan even in Warzone, which made it above and beyond the best weapon within Warzone. It took Infinity Ward an entire week to fix these weapons, and I want you guys to think about that for a second. It took them an entire week to fix a game-breaking weapon in multiplayer and a game-breaking weapon in Warzone, both of which just so happen to be on the new Battle Pass that can be purchased by people buying tier skips. I wholeheartedly believe that these guns were busted on purpose, and they were left to be broken for an entire week so that people would see how broken they are, want to play with them themselves, and then buy tier skips on the Battle Pass just to be able to use them. I think this was their way of cashing out a bit before the end of the Modern Warfare lifecycle, and honestly, if you look at it that way, it's pretty disgusting. You can bet your ass if they accidentally gave us a shop bundle like Treyarch accidentally did back in Black Ops 4, that would have been patched the same exact day, but weapons that literally broke the multiplayer and Warzone game modes somehow stayed broken for an entire week. Think about that, guys. I mean, are you going to try and tell me that was not intentional? Like, give me a break, dude. That was disgusting. But moving along here, getting back to the discussion at hand with skill-based matchmaking, and I've been waiting my entire life to be able to say this, but let's go a little bit deeper here, right? Because something I think that doesn't get discussed often enough is the patent that was filed by Activision 6 months before Modern Warfare 2019 came out. Now, mind you, at the time, supply drops were going to be in Modern Warfare. As you guys can see on your screen, they were going to be in Modern Warfare 2019, but they were cut just before the game came out. And really quickly here, guys, I should do an update to a previous video I did. An Activision representative and Treyarch's community manager have both come forward to say that the supply drops that we saw in the Cold War beta are simply leftover assets and they will not be in the game, which I suppose is good news, but unfortunately, that news comes at a price because you see, skill-based matchmaking has been tuned up a lot in the past 2 years as a way to recoup the money that Activision is losing from those supply drop sales. In that patent that I mentioned, which was filed 6 months before Modern Warfare came out, Activision laid out a skill-based matchmaking system that tracks literally everything you do. Now, you may be thinking that skill-based matchmaking just comes down to your stats, right? Maybe it takes something like your kill-death ratio, your win-loss ratio, and your score per minute, and maybe some other stats, and then gives you this invisible rating, and then you play other people of a similar rating, right? That kind of just makes sense. And while that is technically true, the system goes a lot deeper than any of us ever imagined, because while your stats are a factor, this patent, which is linked down in the description if you guys want to read the entire thing for yourselves, the patent describes how this skill-based matchmaking system tracks literally everything you do, from how you navigate the map, to how much distance you travel, to how you go towards objectives, and everything else. In the patent itself, we see data associated with in-game events such as, but not limited to, movement of the user throughout the virtual environment or topographical map of the game, interaction of the user's avatar with various virtual characters or elements in the game, virtual elements or items used and or won, damage taken, perks acquired. So basically everything you do in the game, right down to your class setup, is being tracked by this skill-based matchmaking system. The idea, at least according to the patent, is that literally everything you do in-game is going to be tracked in an effort to match you against other players who play the same way you do, so that you yourself can improve as a player by always playing against people of an equal skill level. The idea is that you will always play against people who are of an equal skill level that also play the way that you do, and that perfectly explains why almost every single match I played during the beta was full of people constantly jumping and sliding with submachine guns. If you look at most of the footage that I posted to YouTube here over the course of the 9+ years I've been making videos, then you guys know I'm a rusher, right? I don't pay for an advantage by purchasing a special controller like a lot of other people, but I do have a very mobile playstyle. I like to rush, and above all else, I like to play the objective, and I like to try to win. Because the matchmaking system is tracking everything I do and how I play, the people in my lobbies, on average, are going to be a lot sweatier because I'm going to be playing against people that have a very similar, objective-focused, mobile playstyle. While the patent claims that this is going to improve me as a player, all it does is cause every game to be frustrating because everyone is always sweating as hard as they can. Once you reach a certain skill threshold within Call of Duty, your lobbies become so sweaty that the only way for you to play and not get completely wrecked is to sweat just as much. I can't bust out something fun like the R700 on Moscow because everybody on the other team is going to be rushing me with the Milano. I can't improve outside of rushing with submachine guns and shotguns because there's very little variety in playstyle when it comes to the lobbies that I'm personally being put in. Most of the time when I played the beta, everybody on the other team were either using the Commando, rushing with the Milano, and occasionally, very few and far between, but occasionally I would play against some god tier snipers, and that was pretty much it. There were no people using light machine guns. There were very few people using off-meta weapons like the M16 or the Type 63. The variety of Call of Duty was completely gone for me while I played the beta. In most of my matches, I would be playing domination, and most, if not all, of the other team would be rushing for the B flag with submachine guns, and that was pretty much it. It created this super sweaty environment where I would have to go like 40 kills, 40 deaths, and get like 30 objective kills just to barely win or barely barely lose, and that's not a fun gameplay experience. What was enjoyable about Call of Duty before this system was implemented was how you could basically do whatever you want. There was actual variety within each game. Back in Call of Duty World War II, if I wanted to sit back with a Kar 98K, that was viable. If I wanted to rush with a shotgun, that was also viable. If I wanted to use the Tommy gun or the MP40, I could do that. If I wanted to have like a middle ground playstyle using the Gewehr or the M1A1, that was also viable. But now that we're in this world of super strict skill-based matchmaking, none of that is really possible anymore. Now, while yes, people can still try to play the way that they want to, if you're somebody who moves around a lot and has good stats, most, if not all of your matches are going to be filled with scuff-jumping CDL rejects, and because the game is so dependent on skill-based matchmaking, your connectivity is also going to suffer as the game has to expand its search further and further away from you to find people of a similar skill set. I hate the system so much, guys. I really do. Like, do you remember when Call of Duty was relaxing, right? You could just chill out and play COD and not have to try your hardest every single game just to barely win or barely lose? That was fun, right? But we didn't really have that in Modern Warfare, and it's looking like, so far anyway, we're not going to have that in Black Ops Cold War. And then on top of all of this, if you look at the fact that behind the scenes, aspects of this skill-based matchmaking system are designed so that if you purchase a bunch of items in the in-game shop, that you're going to be matched with lower skill players to try show off those guns to them so they're more influenced to actually go and purchase them for themselves. The system's disgusting. It really is. It's a disgusting system, and I truly hope that things are changed between now and when Black Ops Cold War releases. They have found a way to monetize matchmaking, and it's because they want to make up the money that they're losing from supply drops. But the crazy thing is I don't think any of this is even necessary. Activision is claiming that microtransaction sales are through the roof with Modern Warfare 2019 and in Warzone, so because of that, you would think that this entire skill-based matchmaking nonsense would not even be necessary, right? But then again, this may just be proof that their microtransaction matchmaking system is actually working. They implement a horrible system like this in the background, and then suddenly, Modern Warfare 2019 is the best-selling Call of Duty game of all time and is making more money than any Call of Duty game before it. Is that a coincidence? Probably not, right? I firmly believe that this would still happen without skill-based matchmaking. I think fans are more willing to spend money on the game because, for the first time ever, we have a fair business model, but it appears that Activision doesn't see it that way. They see it as, if we're getting rid of supply drops and we're adding free DLC content and battle passes that you don't necessarily even have to buy, then they're going to try and recoup their money somehow with overpriced things in the shop and then weird matchmaking systems in the background that further push players to purchase those in-game items. We're going to have to wait until weekend 2 of the beta to see if anything is going to change with the matchmaking system, but for right now, this is the aspect of the game that I am most worried about. All I know is that the game is good, right? In my own personal opinion, the core gameplay is good in Black Ops Cold War, but if matchmaking doesn't change, then I think a lot of people are going to get very frustrated and leave Black Ops Cold War shortly after it comes out. Now, I obviously have it easy, right? I'm a YouTuber, so between my friend group and my Twitch chat, I will always be able to play the full party, and therefore my experience is likely going to be better than the average player. But for the average player out there, this may be one of the sweatiest years in Call of Duty history, and after those players have just spent an entire year dealing with this in Modern Warfare 2019, I think they're going to get burnt out very quickly, which may result in people not even playing Black Ops Cold War this year. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There's my discussion on these skill-based matchmaking patents that were put out by Activision and my experiences with skill-based matchmaking during weekend 1 of the beta. I would love to hear down in the comments, what was your experience like? How sweaty were your lobbies? Did you have to really try every single match just to barely be able to do well whatsoever? Let me know about that down in the comments. What do you think they're going to be doing in weekend 2? Leave your thoughts and feedback down below. I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.